Hello everybody, DarkWing Carter here, and we are back with another episode of The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel for the PS4, of course. So, in the last episode, we started up the field study here in the great city of Celtic. It's more of a town, I guess. So, we're going to start off by accepting two of our required quests. Well, they're not required, but, you know, for this playthrough, they're required. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be picking up this this quest, which this is the optional one. We have to pick up some stuff for Father Zerbal here, and we have to bring it back to him. Remember to bring the quests back to whoever they belong to. If you don't get the credit, you don't get the AP, and you wasted your time. So this part's 35 minutes, and we're not going to get through all of day one. But it's only 35 minutes because I left battles in, so this part isn't any shorter than the rest. So don't worry, I edited out a battle. It's not that bad, don't worry about it. So we have to bring him something from the Grand Market. I think it's a bear claw. And then we have to go get some stuff out on the western... Yeah, see, a bear claw, and we have to go get some out on the Western Highway, which we'll do. But we have another quest which is required out on the Western Highway, and we have to go talk to the Orbment people in town to accept that one. So those are the two. We're going to be taking care of both those quests today, and that's all we're really going to have time for, because the Western Highway is a pretty long area, and I do need to gain some levels, but it's not really grinding. I don't fight any enemy that I don't have to. So, yeah. So, yeah, now we're going to go to the Orbital place, and we're going to accept this quest. So if you've played Trails in the Sky, this is going to be a quest you're pretty familiar with. We have to replace an orbital light. This is, I swear, step for step the exact same quest that is in Trails in the Sky, the first one, on the PSP, and now on PC. I think it's on Steam/GOG. Yeah, it's on both of those. And I'm pretty sure you could patch in the Japanese voice acting if that's your thing. It doesn't have English voice acting, so I would recommend you figure out how to do that, because that is the true way to experience that game. Also, the best character in that game has the same voice actor as Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's very important. So that's a number you're going to need to remember, 466515. You're definitely going to need to remember that number, because you need that number to get full AP. It's not that bad to remember. I remember it because I've played this game more than I probably should have, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Plus, if you are using a guide, it's probably listed in the guide. I wrote it down. That's why I stayed on that number for so long. So 466515, and you're good to go. So we're going to head to the Grand Market and get that bear claw for Father Zerbal. This is me still not understanding how the market's laid out and running in circles, and now I'm like, oh, it's got a green exclamation point over it. Adoy. But yeah. It's kind of dumb, if I'm being honest. It's not dumb. I'm dumb. That's what I was trying to say. I was trying to say I am dumb. So, if you're curious about my memory, I am recording this commentary at 10:29 p.m. the day before it's supposed to go up. So yeah, I'm not the most proactive. Last week's went really well because I was able to record all five parts. But this is the last bit of gameplay I've recorded up to this point. So I'm gonna definitely need to record the next two parts of this game sometime tomorrow. and then record audio for their parts, and then upload them. It's not that bad. I say 2, but I need, what, 3? 2? Yeah, this goes up on Wednesday. I'm stupid. Looks like we've been stopped by some soldiers. That man has a gorgeous mustache. So yes, they are part of the provincial army here in the Kreuzen province, which is Eustace's family's area. Eustace's dad rules over the Kreuzen province, so these guys are technically working for Eustace and his family. More so his dad, not really Eustace, just his dad. It's the name. So as Laura brought mention to, the provincial army works separately from the actual imperial army. The provincial armies, I'll go ahead and explain some of this now, so I won't have to a little bit later. Or, I'll explain this. I will explain this now, so that it builds groundwork for what happens later. Because these games get a little bit crazy, and they get crazier the more you think of them. It's really cool. It's really cool. So this is the Western Highway.
All these windmills sure make the town feel pretty laid back.
True. This scenery is surprisingly relaxing.
I can do this.
My turn.
So as you can see with Laura, we have the ability to, this is really loud. Let me just turn that down. There we go. Was I screaming into the mic before? I can't tell. So we do have some new enemies here, and if you are going for the monster trophy, you definitely do need to scan them. Or use Elliot's ability to, detector whenever you get it. That's how you need to do this. If you do not do it like this, you will miss the trophy, and that's just how it be sometimes. So I'm gonna have Reen linked up with Laura, because Laura is one of the best girls. I'm glad that my comments choice of best girl is very similar to mine, with Laura, Fee, and Toa both being in there in the top 3. Very, very glad. Very, very glad. I would also put Sarah in there. I would knock Fee out and put Sarah in there. That's my best girl list for Cold Steel 1. But we still not met the full cast. There are some characters they introduce later, as one would expect. But yeah, especially for this point in the game, that's my tier list. But I do love all of these characters. All of these characters are absolutely wonderful. And the amount of giddiness that I felt when they said that all of Class 7 will be in Cold Steel 3, and their original voice actors are all returning. That made me scream. That's a slight spoiler, but whatever. It doesn't matter. So yeah, we have some basic quests here. They're very reminiscent of what we did on our free day, and if you play Trails in the Sky, that might have been a little familiar to you based on certain characters' lines of work.
I can do this.
Now, I don't want to say those characters because if you haven't put it together, I don't want to spoil that part for you. And if you have put it together, don't say anything in the comments. I have a really cool idea. I don't know if it's intentional. There's something in this game that makes me think it's intentional, but we'll get to that a little later on. I think it's Chapter 4 that this event that I'm thinking of happens. So Elisa has Heat Wave. That's a really good art. That's a very, very good art. I really enjoy that art. It's just a big wave of fire. It's really dope.
My turn.
So yeah, these the snail enemies are going to be your major problem here. They're resistant to all physical attacks. The only reason Laura can do like any damage to them is because she has the big dick damage. She can just demolish anything. She is this game's big stout character. So going into their Laura and Elisa's crafts. Laura has Armor Breaker. If you hit with that, there's a pretty good chance that she's going to lower the enemy's defense, which is always good. That's a really good, that's a really good craft. Elisa has Flame Burge, which is just a fire arrow. It's not as good, and you will see me use it like twice. I'm not sure what stats or statuses it has on it, so it may be really good. I don't remember it being very good, and I generally don't use it, just because it's like, eh.
I can do this.
So going into their Master Quartz, because I'm sorry if there's any like super knowledge wizard for these games. It's like, oh, if you switch out Ring's Master Quartz for blank character's Master Quartz, Ring gets really broken. I don't ever mess with Master Quartz in these games. There is a trophy, I'm pretty sure, for maxing out all of the Master Quartz. I think that's true. I'm not entirely sure, don't hold me to that. But I will definitely be maxing out every single party member's normal main quartz. At least the ones I use a lot. Because... Also, that was really funny. But, so, as you can tell, and I've already went over, Rain's Master Quartz gives him CP regen abilities. Elliot's Master Quartz gives him, like, heals and stuff. Heals and some buffs, if I remember correctly. Making Elliot a more white mage buff kind of character.
My turn.
Laura's Master Quartz gives her more strength.
I've got you.
It gives her more strength. Now, her strength is already pretty high, but it gives her more strength, which is really important, because that's nuts. And Elisa, I'll use Elisa a little bit more in 2, because of her Master Quartz, and I don't know if it works the same way in 1. But if it works the same way it does in 2, Elisa's Master Quartz has revive abilities. She can just revive with some health and some CP, which normally, when you do a revive in these games, you lose all of your CP. I'm pretty sure if you max out Elisa's Master Quartz, I don't know if it's in this game, but I know it's in Cold Steel 2, she gets a full revive with 200 CP.
Let's go.
Which is very, very, very good, especially for late game enemies.
Right.
It's very, very good. I cannot actually stress enough how good that is, especially because the second games in each of these series are considerably harder than the first. They always hold your hand. The first of the Trails franchises, like Cold Steel 1's pretty easy. Trails in the Sky, it's still pretty easy. It's not as easy as I feel Cold Steel is. I feel Sky's a little bit harder. But you know, it's not undoable. You know, it's pretty laid back, all things considered. But the second games tend to ramp that up quite a bit, especially with how you get AP. I love this section. I'm so happy I left this in. That was a battle of wills. But yeah, the second games in each of these are super hard, and I don't know if I want to leave in all of my failed attempts, because there's going to be a lot of failed boss fights in 2. Part of that was me not knowing, because I played both of the Cold Steels first, right? Both of, I can't really speak for, Zero and Al, because I didn't really feel there was too much of a difference in their difficulty. They were both, like, mid-challenging wise.
I can do this.
It felt very well balanced. Some of the AP requirements in Cold Steel 2 is so absolutely ridiculous, and I hate it. Oh, Blessed Arrow is a very, very good craft. It heals, and I think it puts CP regen on. So that means every turn you get a little bit of CP back, and that's really, really good, especially in a game where we get just good attacks and we need CP. I'm not an arts-based player, alright? I prefer to use crafts. I don't know if you could tell this, but it's true. I think this is the only fight I cut out in this episode.
Now's our chance.
I was incorrect.
My turn.
Or maybe this is the only fight. This is the fight right before, so the next fight I cut. You see, I originally planned on cutting all of this, and then I realized that if I didn't, the part would be like 50 minutes, and I didn't want a 50-minute episode. So I was like, yeah, man, whatever, I'm gonna do this.
My turn.
But it's not that bad. It's not that bad. There's not too many battles in this episode. And plus, you see, I don't like cutting episodes, or cutting battles, because one,
Here we go.
you have to experience this if you play the game.
That's the power of the 8 leaves.
That's one of the reasons I don't want to cut battles, is because I'm just like, hey man, this is what's in the game. This is what the game is like. You have to go through this when you play the game. The only reason I want to cut battles is to save on time. And I feel like I don't need to save on time in this part, because it's 35 minutes long. And that was before I cut anything. So I'm not gonna cut anything.
I can do
That's the appropriate length for one of these episodes.
Arcus activate.
Is 30 to 45 minutes. The only time it'll run an hour is if I'm either stupid or, you know, just something happens. It's like, some of the story stuff later on, I probably will have hour-long episodes. Like, part 1 was an hour long.
I did it.
And that was mostly talking. There's Detector. So yeah, I definitely... Yeah, it's just one of those things I have mixed feelings about. I get why I need to do it, because sometimes this isn't the most interesting thing in the world to watch. But, you know, this is the game, and I don't want to cut out the game. But I understand it from an audience point of view, because I'm like, please cut out the battles in this RPG. I don't want to watch it. I understand. I get that.
Arcus activate.
Of course.
And I feel like, it's definitely not going to be like this part, because I've already told you I'm not editing anything else. But I think starting in like the next field study, that's going to be where the battle cutting gets big, because one, if I get lost, I just cut down everything of me getting lost.
Arcus activate.
So one thing I thought about doing was just cutting out travel times. So not really in not so much in Celtic, but definitely in the next field study area. There's going to be big distances that we're going to be traveling to do these quests. And I feel like I might be able to cut them out, like show you how to get there once and then cut it out. I feel like that's probably how I should handle the next area. And if that works, I'll probably do something similar to that for the rest of the game. Where it's appropriate, of course. But that would make it so editing battles is easier on me, because editing them on this tablet with my finger is not fun. It's very not fun. I don't like it. So here we have a little mini-boss, and they're going to introduce a really neat mechanic that's been in the Trails franchise since Sky started it. So we get S-Crafts. Now we could have done these earlier, but I decided not to and wait for the tutorial. That's a lot of wolf.
My turn.
The only character who has an S-Craft right now is Laura.
All right, let's do this.
So we're going to buff the strength.
To me.
And this is why I say Laura's a Chad. We're going to resounding beat because that's a lot of enemies.
Give it up, everyone.
Then we're going to press triangle and then press towards Laura to use an S break, which lets us skip turns. And now we get to do a super attack. Now,
Behold.
I'll shut up so you can hear it.
Strike. Radiant blade dance.
Almost 4,000 damage on 4 enemies.
It's my turn.
That is why Laura is the chadliest Chad who's ever chatted. But in all seriousness, S-breaks are really good, and they're even stronger, if I remember correctly. S-breaks and S/S crafts are stronger if you're at 200 CP. If you were at 200 CP and you can buff your strength, and you have a crit, you will do oodles of damage. You won't be able to do the team attack off balance thing, but you will do oodles and oodles of damage. It's amazing. It's great. But yeah, Laura is a Chad. That is the moral of this episode. Laura is a Chad who can turn her sword into a lightsaber with the powers of Kino. So if I have any artists that happen to be watching this, can someone draw me like a swole Laura? I'm talking about with humongous biceps. I want her to be so big that her sword looks like a normal size sword. That's what I want, because I think it would be funny to see. So the Western Celtic Highway is split up into 2. So, fun fact, if you keep following this road,
Now's our chance.
you
Let's
will
get 'em.
eventually hit Trista.
Here we go.
And that is what I mean by it's not a very long walk from
There.
Trista to Celtic. It's not super bad.
My turn.
Also, those little enemies there, they're little and they don't take much damage to kill, but they do a lot of damage. So always try to make sure you kill them. I'm pretty sure they're really susceptible to fire arts if you want to do that.
My turn.
And I'm pretty sure they have a really high dodge chance.
Go.
So I wouldn't recommend doing physicals, unlike me,
can do
who
this.
always does physicals because I'm crazy. So yeah, just remember, don't do physicals on them. Try to use arts unless you're pretty sure you're gonna hit. You'll see me do this a lot whenever Laura's in my party. Just repeatedly hitting an enemy over the head with a giant sword.
Get 'em.
1, because it's funny. 2, because it's effective. It's very effective.
Now's our chance.
So while we have some downtime, I want to talk about some things. There was some talk about doing a Fire Emblem Three Houses Let's Play.
I'll take you up.
If I do it, it'll be a weekend only thing. Because I'm actually going on vacation next week. So there won't be any episodes for most of next week. But I will be back and we will have episodes.
bad.
But if I do a Fire Emblem Let's Play, it will be a weekend thing because I want Cold Steel to take priority. And that's really all I have to say. Is I want Cold Steel to be finished by the end of October. That's Cold Steel 1 and 2, by the way. There's a reason this is coming out every day. We definitely need to get moving, because if I'm being real,
Is this a farmhouse?
this is it's not that long of an RPG, but I'm gonna make it take forever because of what I've decided to do in these Let's Plays. So for Father Zerbal's quest, you need to come in here and talk to old Paul, and he'll give you the carrots, the Imperial carrots that we need for the quest. Thankfully, it doesn't teleport you back right away, which is very, very nice. My foot cramped. Ow, 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 ooh, ooh, ow. But yeah, these are very, very nice. I really enjoy carrots. Carrots. I really enjoy this game. So in other news, I bought One Piece World Seeker because I'm a huge One Piece fan. Caught up to the manga, but that game's really weird. I really enjoy it, but God is it weird. It's such a weird game. They make very, very interesting choices with that game, but it's still very good. So, if you,
I wonder where we are.
and yes, we're gonna fish.
It says Lunaria Nature Park.
So yeah, there's a cutscene up here. This is completely optional, you don't have to come up here. But you can go up here and do a little look-see. It's completely optional, but there is a treasure chest up here. But we will be back here later, so you can just grab it then if you want. But yeah, I come here and I get this little optional scene for you guys. Which you do get a little bit of background about Erebonia. There is a very, So how do I talk about the religion on the continent of Zemuria, where this game takes place? How do I explain this? So the church that pretty much everybody in Cold Steel worships, the church of the Septium Church is what it's called, with the god Adios, the goddess Adios, as its principal deity. Is actually fairly new, especially in Erebonia. There was an animist religion that was all over the country, and Erebonia is huge. It's a very big country. But yeah, so there are places in Erebonia
This looks like a nice spot.
where animism was really strong. And as Laura and Reen said, that there are spots like that in their hometowns. So yeah, it's a little interesting thing. I don't know if they're ever gonna do anything with it, which I know they do some stuff with it.
What even is this?
But they could do other stuff with it. Also, there's a crayfish here. If you're doing the fishing, make sure you stop by the stream. Do a little bit of fishing. Not my streams that I do over at twitch.tv/DarkWing Carter. Not that one. Shout out to my Twitch. I don't know. I use my Twitch sometimes. As you can see, I have a couple of VODs up on the channel. I'm never finishing Soma. To my buddy Austin, if you are somehow watching this and somehow bulging through this Let's Play, I'm sorry, because I'm never going to finish that game.
What even is this?
You know who you are. You know which Austin I'm talking about. I don't know if he does YouTube. It's not my buddy Austin who does YouTube. It's not that Austin. It's a guy I know from college. Cool dude. So this is the orbital lamp that you need to replace. Remember, that code is 466515. You need to make sure that you remember that code because it's going to ask you for it here. I saved this for last because 1, it's required. 2, I was scared it was going to teleport me if I finished it, and I didn't want to walk all the way back out here. Why'd I stay on what for so long? I don't know either. Oh, monsters. Very interesting. So yeah, they explain this in Trails in the Sky. They kind of explain it here. These lamps that are on the sides of the main highways are monster repellent. They emit a light that monsters don't like, and it keeps people safe as they travel the road. So it's a really bad problem when one of these lights go out. So it is the last one, option C. Click that option and you're done. That's all the quest is, and then you go back and report it. Make sure you report Father's Herbal too, though, because that's very important, because you need that for full AP. But, regardless. So these lamps, these orbital lamps, actually operate on the same power. They operate on the same power. I can't speak. They operate on the same power that our orbments do, our Arcus orbments, which is Septium. Which is distilled earth power, is the only way I've ever... It's distilled elemental power from the earth. That's the only way I've ever heard it described. So that's it. If there is a Kiseki lore master in my comments,
Come on then.
feel free to describe Septium. But one of the reasons that it's super important to make sure those lights are fixed, they don't say that in this game, but they do say it in Trails in the Sky. And that is because when those lights are broke, they tend to leak Septium. And what Septium in its raw form attracts monsters. Also, I'm stupid. I got rid of all of the monsters in that area, so it completely missed with Lisa's art, and it made me really sad. So yeah. And that did a lot of damage. I could have used Laura's S-Craft with 100 CP to interrupt that and get the crit, but I decided, no, it's not going to be that bad. It does almost 700 damage. It was ridiculous.
My turn.
Go.
I always say this game's not super hard,
An opening.
which it's not. You just have to pay attention. It's like
Your
whenever
swordsmanship
somebody's
gets
like,
better with every
hey,
battle.
can you explain Kingdom Hearts to me? And then they tell me to shut up and die because I explain Kingdom Hearts. It's like, well, how do you know all this? It's like, well, pay attention. Don't ever ask me to explain the lore of Kingdom Hearts to you. We will both hate ourselves. But it's not that bad if you play the game. Having someone tell it to you is pretty bad. Barry, formerly of Game Grumps, has a YouTube video up where he hits all the high points. He does a pretty good job in that video. If you ever are interested in getting into Kingdom Hearts, go there. Or go to Super Butter Buns. She has for beginners things for Kingdom Hearts. Don't listen to game reviewers who didn't play the other games. Listen to people who enjoy the games. They will probably tell you. You see, here's the thing. For Cold Steel and Kiseki, they both have kind of bad reps for their fans being ravagely crazy. Kingdom Hearts fans have earned that because... oof. But I digress on Kingdom Hearts. Kiseki fans, Western Kiseki fans... Western Falcom fans are just former Atlas fans. Because, listen, I've been both of these. I've been a fan of Atlas before Sega bought them and started started making them localize all their shit. I lived through the days when it took Atlas forever to do anything, and they still take forever to do anything, except it's slightly faster now. Falcom is just that, but now that they've partnered with NISA, they're starting to crank out the games in the West. I'm very happy about that. But both of their fan bases, from what I've heard, tend to have very negative stances. People tend to not like the fan bases. It's really weird to me. Like especially for newbies, I was like, eh. It's mostly just really loud people. It's the same in every fan group of everything. There's a really loud minority, and it's just like, oh no. You know, it's just ignore them. If you want to get into a game, somebody who really likes the games can probably tell you a good way to start. Or you could just watch my Let's Play. Please subscribe to me. I need subscribers. Please, I love you. Anyway, regardless of that, I'm going to head to the inn and heal, because I kind of got bodied. It was not very fun. So you can heal for free at the inn, because thankfully the Academy is taking care of all of our expenses. But we're going to be ending the video around here, mostly because if I did the final mission, there would be story stuff that would really throw me off, and I don't want to do that. So I want to thank you guys for watching this series. Like and subscribe, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from y'all, and I'll see you in the next part. See you guys.